It's Resurrection Sunday. What a glorious and victorious day it is. Now, ordinarily, I would not be doing a video on this day, and I really want to be spending some time with my family right now, but the Lord has given me a word, and I've got to do this. And I'm going to try to keep this really small or short. I don't want to squelch the word of the Lord. I believe that He can get what He wants to say out quickly without having to drag it on. But if the videos are too long, then people can't stay in focus with the videos. So that's why I kind of want to get into this. And I also want you to know that I don't plan these out. I mean, I know what direction I'm going or what direction that the Lord wants me to go, but it's not like I'm not like other creators who say on this day I'm going to talk about this, on this day I'm going to talk about this. It's a for now time. It is a for now word that the Lord is giving me. So what I talk about is something that He's given me today to talk to you today about it. Now, this word will go on, it'll be relevant after today, but it's the word He gave me today. So it's not like I plan these things. And I say that because I find He just astonishes me on the words that He gives, and the timing is always right. The timing is always right. So we're going to pick up in Jonah. Where we left off in Jonah was when the crew found out that Jonah was the reason that the storm had come. And so they wanted to know how to get the storm to stop. And Jonah said, "Throw me into the sea." Now, they didn't really want to do that. They were afraid that they would be blamed for his death, but they did what he said, and as soon as they threw him in there, the storm calmed down. So that's where we're picking up. So we're in Jonah 1:17. Hold on one second. I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay, so Jonah 1:17 says, "But the Lord provided." Hold on. Hold on a second. My fingers aren't working very well. Jonah 1:17 says, Jonah 1:17 says, "But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights." So other translations will call it other things like a sea monster. Oops, excuse me, sea monster. Let me look here and see what other versions call this. Normally, I really know the direction I'm going in. Today, I'm just kind of let's see, great fish. Great fish. Okay. So it says a great fish, and when you go into the translation of what that word means, it means a sea creature or a sea monster, is what it means. And when growing up, we've always heard it as Jonah and the whale because it's what we could fathom. It's what we could understand, that that was the biggest fish we knew. And for some reason, we think that when people go into the belly of a whale, that they are spared from death. Okay, I guess that's why we figured that it was such a large area that people could live through it and get spit out. Uh, hence Pinocchio. I mean, let's talk about Pinocchio. I mean, he was alive in the whale's stomach, and I think that's why we've portrayed it to children that way. Because, I mean, why talk about death with children, right? I mean, can't shield them from everything. Doesn't mean we need to shove things down their throat either, but we can't shield them from everything. So the true meaning of this word is not a whale, it is a sea creature. Now, there is evidence that back then in that time, even the Romans had pictures of this sea creature that almost looked like a sea dragon in the waters. And that's where some of the mythology came up from, because it was something that they had seen, so they had made stories of it. But, the sea creature is in the Bible through and through. So looking at this, it said the sea creature, which is also translated into Cetus. Once again, the constellation that will be in view during the solar eclipse is Cetus. And we say Cetus as in the whale, but Cetus actually means sea creature. And the Hebrew word for sea creature basically means toil and wind and coil. And then there's another word that it means too. Let me look at that real quick. It means, I thought I wrote it down here. I didn't keep all my notes. Sorry. All right. Oh yeah, here it is. To twist and to coil, to wind up. And that's what it means. So another word used for a sea creature is Leviathan. And Leviathan is throughout the Bible as well. So I want to talk about one Leviathan, which is talked about in Isaiah. And I'm going to start actually with Isaiah 26, and we're going to go 26 through 21. Now, this Leviathan, now a lot of times Leviathan is talked about with evil or Satan or demons, wickedness upon the earth, things like that. But this Leviathan, talked about in Isaiah 26 and part of 27, is talking about a wicked king and a nation. So let me read to you. This is the ESV version, Isaiah 26:20. Come, my people, enter your chambers and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until the fury has passed by. For behold, the Lord is coming out from his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity, and the earth will disclose the blood shed on it, and will no more cover its slain. In that day, the Lord, with his hard and great and strong sword, will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea. Another place in Job talks about Leviathan, how God had placed Leviathan in the great expanse of the sea. And it also talks about how ships are going to and fro back above where the sea creature is living. And other areas in the Bible that talk about Leviathan talk about how evil he is and how wicked it is and how devastating he can be and how large and huge he is. So I say that because just on Friday, once again, that person that is in the White House, and I will not call him president because I don't believe he is, and that's my personal opinion. What did he do? What did he claim today to be? It has, today is a day of victory. Today is a day that we celebrate the risen Lord and his victory over death. But every time the Lord is trying to show victory, the enemy comes in and tries to change the narrative. And he tries to copy what God's saying, but in a evil way, in a more demonic way. So this guy, Biden, said that today will be recognized as Transgender Day of Visibility. And that goes completely against Christianity and the belief of what Jesus died for. He died for us to know that he created us, man and woman. That's who we are. We should not be people of confusion. We should not have the spirit of confusion. It doesn't mean that we hate the people. We love the people and we love them for who they were created to be, the man or the woman. And it's funny how they say, how Biden was saying so that we can not harass those with gender identity. Well, gender identity is an oxymoron because gender is a male or female, and identity basically is saying you are who you were made to be. I mean, that's pretty much what identity is, that you are not something else. That's what identity means. You are who you are and you're not something else. So it's an oxymoron to begin with. It's words put together to create confusion. So you can't tell me God's not trying to say something to not only America but the world as well, and to people in general. So I'm going to read down here. So we're going to go into Jonah's prayer, which is in, and I'm going to read all through chapter 2 because it's not very long. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God, and he said, in my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From the depths of the grave, I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the seas, and the current swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. And I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me, the deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you brought my life up from the pit, O Lord my God. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you and your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs. But I, with a song of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. Salvation comes from the Lord. And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah unto dry land. So this is a foreshadow of the resurrection of Jesus, of his death, his burial, and his resurrection. And that is why Jesus even had told the Pharisees, you're looking for a sign, but the only sign I'm going to give you is that of Jonah, that as he was in the belly of a fish for 3 days and 3 nights, therefore so will I be. But Jonah was raised up and he was spewed out of death and he was alive. And then he went forth and did God's commandment. But if you read this, it talks about how he was distressed and that in his distress he remembered the Lord. Now I know it says that from the inside the fish Jonah prayed, but Jonah actually died. And it says down here, from the depths of the grave I called for help and you listened to my cry. Now don't be mistaken that you can't like die forever and never come back. That's why this is such a foreshadow of Jesus's death and resurrection. That Jesus, when he died, he went down to Sheol and to Abraham's bosom, which is where all of the righteous who died before Christ, before his sacrifice on the cross, went. And they lived in a place called paradise. What was that place like? I don't know. I don't know what that place was like, but I do know that they did not suffer. They were waiting on the Messiah to come and tell them about God's plan. So Jesus went down and he spent that time down there talking to them and telling them this was God's plan all along. And this is who I am, and this is what I've come for. And I am the last sacrifice to ever be done. No more sacrifices at the temple. No more bloodshed of the animals, because I have done this for everybody's sin. And it's only through me and through my salvation that people can be saved and go up to heaven. And then you had the Abraham's bosom, and then you had a great vast or a great open space. And then on the other side was where those who were not righteous those who did not know God or did not follow his laws or ask for forgiveness. That's where they went, and they were tormented there. It was so dry and hot that they just died of thirst. And Jesus talks about one instance with a man named Lazarus, which wasn't the Lazarus that he raised. It was a different man named Lazarus who was down there calling, please, please, just a little drop, just a little drop of water just to satisfy me because I'm so parched. It talks here how he had gone, see, you hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me, and the waves and breakers swept over me. And I said, I have been banished from your sight. Wait, hold on a second. So he was thrown into the sea, and we saw where it said that the storm had calmed. But yet, here's Jonah in the sea, in the storming of the sea. He'd been thrown into the sea, and even though the storm had stopped, the waves were just crashing over him and dragging him down into the depths of the sea. And he was drowning, is what was happening. He was drowning. And because of that, he was brought down into the darkness, into the depths of the sea, because it's very dark down there. And there was no sign of light, which means he was out of the sight of the Lord. And it also said here that the engulfing waters threatened me, the deep surrounded me, seaweed was wrapped around my head. He was being choked, and the seaweed was wrapped around his head. He couldn't breathe. So when you read about Jesus's resurrection, the cloth that was around his head was folded inside the tomb. It wasn't just thrown there. It was literally folded inside the tomb and laid there. And this was a message and a sign, because the tradition, the Jewish tradition, when you were eating, is if you had to get up from the table, you just put your napkin down. That, that let them know that you were done eating, and then they could come and clear your plate. But if you had to get up, you would fold, and everybody had a specific way that they folded their napkins or their cloths, whatever you want to call them. And they would fold it a specific way and lay it there, and that meant, I'm coming back. I'm not done yet. So the seaweed wrapped around his head reminds me of the cloth that was wrapped around Jesus's head when they prepared him for burial. But when they came back to the tomb and his body was gone, it wasn't just his body's gone, and it wasn't just that there were two angels there saying, who are you looking for? Because he's not here. He's, risen like he told you he was going to do. But the cloth was folded in a specific way and laid there to let him know, I'm not done yet. I'm coming back. Mm-mm-mm. Then it says down here that to the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. Hmm. I was doing some research on how tall these mountains are, and there's some mountains in Hawaii that from the bottom of the sea all the way up to the top is 2,000 feet taller than Mount Everest. So we only see a portion of the mountain, but there's so much more underneath the ground. And he was down at the bottom of the mountain. He was at the bottom of the sea. And God had this creature come and save him. He drowned. He was in the bottom of the sea. The creature came, swallowed him up, and then the creature swam to where Jonah needed to be. He didn't just bring him somewhere else. He swam him to the closest place of where he needed to be, and he vomited him out. It says he spewed him out. He vomited him out. And Jonah had said in his prayer that it says, but I a song of thanksgiving will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. Salvation comes from the Lord. And so basically he was saying that I have vowed my life to you. And yes, I kind of messed up and I didn't do what you wanted me to do. And the storm came and then I was thrown into the depths of the sea and then I died. I felt the weight of sin and what happens when we don't follow you. But now I see the truth. I called upon you and your salvation was there because salvation only comes from you. And because of this salvation, I am so thankful and grateful. And I have vowed my life as a life of servitude to you and to your will. Hmm. How fitting that is on Resurrection Sunday. How fitting. Is America in the bowels of the belly of the fish? Is America headed to the depths of the bottom of the sea with its heart being wrapped with seaweed? Where is our leadership taking America? Because I'm going to tell you right now, what was declared in the White House is not what the majority of people believe, think, or feel. It is not our heart. And I'm sorry, but you cannot speak for us because that is not in our heart. This is the day of victorious resurrection of Jesus, who died for our sins, who gave us life and salvation forever. We're in day 4, sackcloth and ashes of the heart of our prayer. And our prayer for this time is to pray for wisdom and understanding and pray that God reveals his desire and his will to you. We're still in preparation for repentance, still in preparation for repentance. And then I'm going to go over the scriptures that are in reference to that. So we have James. Yeah, James 1:5. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Regardless of whether you believe Biden acted correctly or not, go to God for the guidance. Go to him and ask him, is this right, Lord? Deep in your heart, you should know. You should know. The next one is Proverbs 4:6-7. It says, do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. Then you can go on and say, cherish her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. And that's godly wisdom. That's not wisdom from this world. And then we have Proverbs 19:20. Listen to advice and accept discipline. Accept discipline. Wow, people today don't like to be disciplined. And at the end, you will be counted among the wise. Hmm. The next verse says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. It's the Lord's purpose that prevails, not what we claim it to be. Sorry that I felt like I rushed through this, but I also felt like I needed to get this one out. How fitting it is that where we're at when Jonah is talking about the Lord's resurrection, that it's a foreshadow of that, of what we're celebrating today as the resurrection of what Jesus did on the cross, that he died for you. He loves you that much. And if we can't even fathom the pain, even the movie, The Passion of the Christ, does, even though it's very graphic, It cannot depict how marred and beaten Jesus was. He wasn't even recognizable as a man. They tore flesh from his body. He bled so much that there was hardly any blood to come out when he was on the cross. The pain and the agony that he felt. And he did this knowingly. He knew what was to come. He knew what was going to happen. And yeah, he was a little he prayed before. He needed the strength. He needed God to give him the strength, even though he is God and he's been doing all these miracles. He knew this is what he needed to go through, and he knew it was going to be painful. He knew, but yet he did it anyways because he loves us that much. I can't even fathom that kind of love. I don't understand it. All I can say is my life was heading down to the depths of hell. But I am thankful, and I will forever have a spirit and a song of thanksgiving that salvation only comes through the Lord, and that I will vow myself to be his servant and do his will. And I pray that that is your prayer too. Pray for our country. Pray for our country because we're in the belly of the monstrous sea creature right now. And God have mercy on our souls. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your Resurrection Sunday. And until next time.